President Putin was threatening to use tactical nuclear weapons on the territory of Ukraine. Americans sent lots of messages for him to not to think about this, explaining him the consequences of it for Russia. But that didn't necessarily persuaded him at first. He got two phone calls. He got a phone call from President of China, Xi Jinping, and he got a phone call from Prime Minister Modi telling him that neither China nor India independently do not approve of that kind of move. He then decided that this is not a good idea. So Prime Minister Modi played a role in it. Well, President Putin was threatening to use tactical nuclear weapons on the territory of Ukraine. The Americans sent lots of messages for him to not to think about this, explaining him the consequences of it for Russia. But that didn't necessarily persuaded him at first, and he got two phone calls. He got a phone call from President of China, Xi Jinping, and he got a phone call from Prime Minister Modi telling him that neither China nor India independently do not approve of that kind of move. And faced with the fact that two major nations with which Russia considered to be friendly said don't do it, he then decided that this is not a good idea. So Prime Minister Modi played a role in it.
Development in that way, how do you look at India playing a part in overall peace process in the region, which is very important right now?
Well, I mean, India for decades liked to be non-aligned and somewhat removed from engagement in the world. But if you are fifth largest economy in the world, if you have more people in your country than anybody in any other country, and you are actually quite active in foreign policy, sooner or later you have to get involved in various things. And I think India can play a moderating role in its usual fashion, and because lots of people, lots of countries talk to India, and Prime Minister Modi is a highly skillful politician, which is proven here, but also on the world stage. We had a privilege of having him at a visit last year. I had even more privilege of accompanying him in almost every meeting, with one exception. I was at every meeting with Prime Minister, so I had an opportunity to see him in action. And he's a great statesman, and if India wants to get involved close in security, building security in Europe, he is welcome.
How do you look at the relationship between the two countries, which are very Minister? Now, how do you look at the relationship taking forward? What's the road forward?
Well, first of all, we had a strategic partnership agreement. The second thing, we've signed an action plan how to put the strategic partnership in place. So what to do with it, and then I am here twice or three times a year. My boss, the foreign minister, is expected here. We are planning a higher level visit because Prime Minister Modi invited both Prime Minister of Poland and the President of Poland to visit. So we work on that. Next month, the Deputy Prime Minister, Minister of Digital Affairs, is coming to Delhi. I mean, we do that but high-ranking visits, and also trying to talk about developing common projects in business, and looking at investments, Polish investments in India, Indian investment in Poland. So this is we're trying to make it work, because Prime Minister Modi likes things done, and our Prime Minister Donald Tusk also likes things done. So we are trying to comply with that.
Last question, of course. How critical was that when the nuclear thing was being talked about? The initiative by Prime Minister Modi, how critical that was for the region? Because the war which was taking place, the conflict which was burning topic for both the countries, how critical was that from Prime Minister Modi to stop the nuclear weapons?
Well, at the moment there is little chance to stop nuclear proliferation, and if the world becomes more goes away from the international laws-based order which we've had since 1945 and moves into spheres of influence, I think it's inevitable that more countries would want to acquire nuclear weapons.